Ted Cruz's style, and that's going to wear thin very fast.
You think he's threatening delegates?
Well, he's threatening that you go to these county conventions and you see the Gestapo tactics, the scorched earth tactics.
Gestapo tactics?
Yeah, they are.
That's a strong word.
Well, you look at, we're going to be filing several protests because the reality is they're not playing by the rules.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, joining us right now is Alan Keyes, former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, three-time Republican presidential candidate. Hello, Alan.
Hi, how are you?
Good to talk to you, sir. All right, lots to get to in a short amount of time as usual. You wrote a great piece, Clinton, Trump, Cruz all betray founding premises. But let me ask you about this. As mentioned, you've run for the office more than once. What did they do in Colorado? I mean, no votes cast, all the delegates go to Cruz. Trump wins in Virginia in a certain congressional district. He doesn't get any of the delegates. Hillary loses 7 states to Sanders, and she gets more delegates than he does. I mean, they're not even making believe that it's a process anymore.
Well, I think that's true, and I think it's showing what I've tried to get people to realize all along, that the two parties have been hijacked, essentially by elitist interests that are determined that nobody is going to be successful who isn't vetted and accepted by them. And so the process has essentially been rigged. It's actually, I think, quite prescripted in order to make sure, first of all, that nobody stays involved in it who isn't to a degree acceptable to them. And second, to make sure that if things look like they're getting out of hand, they have even rigged the party process on the GOP side so that at any point you can take it back. And I find it interesting that Trump is complaining because he's been benefiting from the changes that occurred in some places that allowed people to come in from outside the party and vote in the primaries.
Yeah, the crossover vote,
and so they had to institute a way to make sure that when that happened, it happened in a way that frustrated the grassroots Republicans but didn't interfere with the control of the GOP's leadership in the state and at the national level. So you eventually get a process that's openly out of the hands of the people and doesn't represent them, and I think that's what's going on.
All right, let me ask you, you've been very vocal, both in word and in written word, about the candidates, and as this headline indicates, they all betrayed the founding premises. But I know you don't like Cruz, I know you don't like Trump, I know you don't like any of them, but you know and I know that if Hillary gets to appoint the next Supreme Court, 2-3 people, this country's over, whether it be guns, whether it be freedom of speech, whether it be affirmative action, you name it. We're done. We're done for 45 years. So don't we have to really coalesce around whoever the Republican nominee is and make sure they get in?
No, because the country's done in any case with this party system. The belief that Donald Trump is some kind of conservative is absurd on the face of it. He never was in the course of his lifetime. And when he did support anything that had to do with conservatives, this is that, senators, whatever, it was only for his selfish business interest. That's all. When he acted as a citizen in light of his views, it was always in support of leftist socialist approaches, which he still espouses. I'm talking about Supreme Court appointees. He has said openly, oh, my sister would make a great appointee. She happens to be a big pro-abortion leftist. So what are we talking about here? They're offering no choice that's going to save this country. And the people need to read the Constitution and accept the fact that this corrupt party system, which isn't based any longer on the principle of representation, it's the party system, not the personalities, that are at fault here.
Right.
Those personalities are being vetted by a system that makes their ties to the elitist faction's leftward-leaning agenda pretty much to be taken for granted. The people are not going to be represented.
Right. Alan, let me ask you also about something you've written about extensively, and that's Hillary's remarks where she doubled down on them after she made them, that the unborn baby does not have any constitutional rights.
Well, the unborn baby is human, right? And the United States was founded on the premise that if you're human, created by God as a human being, then you have certain unalienable rights. The Ninth Amendment says that the Constitution cannot be interpreted in a way that denies or disparages the rights retained by the people. The rights that come from God were the first things retained by the people. As Thomas Paine, the famous patriot, said in his book on the rights of man, those are the rights that can't be taken away by any human government whatsoever. We always retain them. So if you're a human child in the womb, you have God-endowed unalienable rights. And when Hillary Clinton says otherwise, she's not just attacking the life of that child, she's attacking the very foundation of self-government based on the assertion that all human beings have rights, not just the privileged class that has the power. And I think people need to wake up. The elitist faction is all about overturning the foundations of government of, by, and for the people, and returning us to the past when the few ruled and the rest of us just did what we were told.
Alan, I got to tell you, I miss your voice. You should be running. You always should be running because your voice is so needed, and there's no one who speaks as eloquently as you. Thank you, my friend. We'll speak to you soon.
Glad to be with you. Thank you.
Take care. Alan Keyes, ladies and gentlemen. Up next, opinion editor for Forbes.com, Avik Roy. Don't go away.